The Meaning of Maggie, Chapter 10. The first week back to school after Christmas break is always thrilling, but this time I was going to try even more to give it my all. Maybe I was excited to learn more and more so I could get smarter and smarter and closer to fixing Dad. Maybe I just needed a distraction after everything that happened with Grandmother. Or maybe I was just the smartest kid in my entire class. Footnote 39. Yep, that had to be it. I was on an academic roll, and by Thursday afternoon, my arm was drained of blood from raising it so much. I was about to give my arm a rest and let someone else answer when Mrs. Nickel asked, "Who refused to give up her seat on an Alabama bus?" No one raised their hand. Fools! I eagerly raised mine. Mrs. Nickel sighed. Anyone other than Maggie? I meekly lowered my hand, and Mrs. Nickel called on Mary Winter, the class airhead. I don't think that's cool. After about a million Mary said, "Florence Nightingale? Seriously, am I the only one who did her homework, even when we didn't have homework?" I was just about to redeem my generation by yelling, "Rosa Parks!" when the bell rang. I was up and at 'em the next morning. I read 4 chapters ahead in my history book the night before, so I felt confident knowing I knew more than usual. I was only going to read 2 chapters ahead, but then the civil rights movement took off, and I had to know if Lyndon B. Johnson got his act together. I was zipping my book bag up when Mom unexpectedly appeared at my door. "Why aren't you at work, lady?" "Stop calling me lady," she said with a look. "I took the day off to spend it with my girls. How do you feel about a little adventure?" "Well, maybe later. I'm staying after school to clean the erasers." "Ooh, that's a torture you'll never have to know." "Why do you have to do that? Did you get in trouble?" "Trouble? I volunteered. I considered it my civic duty." She looked impressed and worried at the same time. "Okay, well, we're going to have to miss it today. We're going to play hooky. Doesn't that sound cool?" Ooh, that is a word I'm unfamiliar with. What do we think that means? All right. Was she kidding? It sounded like the opposite of cool. I can't skip school. What if I miss a pop quiz or something? Mom held up my coat. "I already checked with your teachers. Missing a day is fine." I objected big time. "No way, Mom." She pushed me out the door. "This is kidnapping." The next thing I knew, I was bundled up and being forced into the car next to Tiffany, who was already buckled up. Layla was in the front seat. Was she kidnapping all 3 of us? "I don't want to be kidnapped," I screamed. Mom looked at me in the rearview mirror. "It's perfectly legal to kidnap your own children." "Well, we'll let the court decide that." I nodded at Tiffany, who was staring at me with her nose wrinkled. "You're so weird." And just like that, we're driving down the highway with the radio blasting on a school day. I gave everyone the silent treatment, mostly because I was mad and partly because when you're kidnapped, you're not supposed to give your captors any reason to dislike you. Layla checked her mascara in the passenger mirror. "Come on, Maggie, cheer up. Today is going to be fun." "How do you know? Have you been conspiring with the enemy?" Mom didn't like that at all. "I'll have you know, Jane Mayfield." Uh-oh, she used my whole name. Trouble. "Your sisters and I planned this entire day just for you, so be nice and get excited." "Actually, they planned it," said Tiffany. "I was forced to come along against my will." I held out my hand for her to shake in solidarity, but she refused it and went back to layering on lip gloss. Footnote 40. The amount of time and effort my sisters put into their looks is really astounding. I bet if you added it all up, they've both spent 80 to 85% of their lives shellacking on Bon Bell lip smackers. How am I supposed to be excited if I don't even know where we're going? Mom pulled into a parking lot lined with giant trees. "We're here. The High Museum of Art." She turned around and smiled. Excited now? The place was huge and overwhelming and totally exciting. We were going on a full tour of the museum today, Mom explained. This is our first stop, and then we're going to the Atlanta History Center. It's time you saw some real history instead of just reading about it in school. This is awesome, I yelled louder than you're supposed to yell in front of museums. I lowered my voice back to normal. Is Dad meeting us here? No, honey, Mom said. We're going to have a great time. It'll be just us girls. I was skeptical. A girls' day? They better not make me shop for anything, unless it's a Picasso. Mom bought our tickets and we turned through the turnstiles and went back in time. I hadn't thought I was really into art. I mean, only art we did in art class involved popsicle sticks, but no popsicles, and that just seemed wrong. But this art jumped off every wall. There were so many colors, so many faces, so many naked people I wasn't supposed to see. But Mom said they were like the naked people in National Geographic, so it was okay. Layla loved the Degas dancers, and Tiffany loved the Renoir lady. And I loved this painting of raspberries, and I imagined were sugared like Mom always made them. We oohed and ahed for an hour. Then Mom said it was time to go to the next destination. On our way to the car, we passed a wishing well. Layla pushed Mom for coins. Come on, Mom. You have to have a penny in your purse somewhere. Mom's arm disappeared into her bag and came back out holding 3 pennies. You're in luck. She handed one to each of us. Make it count. Layla tossed hers in first and probably made a wish about being some senior prom queen. Tiffany was next, and she probably made a wish about being junior prom queen. I handed my penny back to Mom. Here, you throw it. I don't want to. Oh, come on, Maggie, she said. You have to make a wish. I'm pretty sure it's illegal to throw wishes in there, and I can't break the law. I'm going to be president one day. How many times do I have to tell you? She laughed. Okay, I'll make a wish then. She held on super tight to the penny and let it go behind her without opening her eyes. She looked like she was wishing really hard. She was probably wishing for, I didn't know what Mom wished for. She never really wanted anything. I would have asked her, but I didn't want her to give up her wish by telling me. I wanted it to come true, whatever it was. We drove down busy city streets and made our way to the History Center. Inside, I took a deep breath and smelled that waste. I smelled the way smart felt. Mom and I walked side by side, and she guided us through the Civil Rights exhibition, while Layla and Tiffany pretended to pay attention. I remember this. Mom pointed to a picture of Martin Luther King Jr. walking down an Atlanta street surrounded by people. He was a great man, gone way too soon. Did you go to the parade he was in? I asked. Oh, it wasn't a parade. It was the March on Washington. I didn't go, but I watched it on TV with my dad, and it was so exciting. That time was really electric, you know? I questioned her hippie vocabulary. Electric? Yes, electric, like alive. Like things were finally changing for the better, even though sometimes it was scary, especially growing up down here. Atlanta was the center of it all because Dr. King, and living here, you really felt like you were a part of it, a part of change. I searched the photos for electricity and swore I saw a spark in here and there. I'm going to make history one day too, you know. Mom smiled. You already are. She walked and walked around some more until our legs were too full of history to walk anymore. So we headed to the car. I couldn't wait to get home and tell Dad all about our day. We piled into the car and then Mom laid another surprise on me. Guess what? The adventure isn't over yet. I booked us a room at the hotel and we're going to spend the night in a fancy suite. How does that sound, Maggie? I had to admit, it sounded exciting, but it also sounded fiscally irresponsible. Ooh, I know what that means. I'm going to underline that one. I don't know. Mom, it sounds expensive. That's the best part, Mom said. I traded a day off for a room for the night. It's not going to cost a thing. But we don't have our pajamas. You don't give me enough credit, Maggie. I had Layla pack you a bag last night. What? What did you pack for me? I had to know. Don't worry, Layla said. I have your rise and shine nightgown. And what else? And your gigantic old lady underpants, she laughed. I defended my own honor. They're not gigantic, okay? I just like to have room to move around. When we got to the hotel, I expected Dad to be waiting for us in the lobby, but he was nowhere to be found. When is Dad getting here? I asked. Did you send the fancy hotel limo to get him? It's just us for the night, Mom explained. Dad's staying home. He's what? My yell bounced off every inch of marble in the lobby. Shh. Mom lowered her voice. He's fine. David is staying at the house. Footnote 41. David is Dad's best friend. He works at the airport like Dad and has a mustache like Dad and likes Budweiser and hippie music like Dad. He's sleeping on the couch. They're probably watching football and yelling at the TV right now. This didn't make any sense. But who's going to make him dinner and finish his ice cream and help him brush his teeth and pick him up and put him in bed? David can do it all, trust me. She grabbed a key from a hand I could barely see over the tall front desk. Now, let's go check out our room. We rode up the glass elevator in silence. But the silence was over when Mom opened the door to our room. There are only 2 beds, Tiffany yelled. Mom put our bags in the closet. Yes, you and Maggie are sleeping in one bed, and Layla and I are sleeping in the other. Great. I shared a room with Tiffany at home, and now I had to share a bed with her here. This was supposed to be a break from the daily grind, and my daily grind had a ponytail and legs that karate kicked at night. When Tiffany lay down on the bed, her giraffe arms and legs nearly took up the whole thing. I'd be lucky if I made it through the night alive. I was going to stay mad, but then Mom made up for it. How about some room service for dinner? I snatched the menu out of her hand. I'll take the pancakes and a hamburger and a steak. Mom took the menu back. We're going to pick a couple of things and share them. Fine, I huffed in a very unfine way. Even though it was actually fine, we ordered 2 hamburgers, 2 orders of fries, and 4 Coca-Colas and feasted while watching Entertainment Tonight. Like always, I was the last to get in the bathroom. I brushed my teeth, put on my favorite nightgown that Layla had packed for me. I had to admit, she had good taste. When I walked back into the room, she was just hanging up the phone. Geez, Layla, can't you spend a whole day away from Bobby? It's not like you can make out through the phone. She threw a pillow at my head. It wasn't Bobby, it was Dad. Hey, call him back. I want to say goodnight. No, Maggie, Mom said. It's time for bed and Dad's really tired. We'll see him in the morning. I never understood why a guy who sat down all day was always so tired at night. But I didn't fight her to call him back. I was tired too from all the seeing and thinking. I crawled into bed with Tiffany, who promptly rolled over and scared the bejesus out of me. Something's eating your face, I screamed. It's a face mask. It's going to keep me beautiful, she said without moving her lips. I shook my head. Good luck with that. Sick burn, Maggie. The next day, we packed up and headed home after breakfast. I couldn't wait to tell Dad about the adventure. I wanted to be the first to see him, so I ran into the house, rushed down the hall, opened the door, and ta-da! He was sleeping at 1 in the afternoon on a Saturday. Sure, I didn't have reason to believe he wasn't always asleep in the afternoon. Who knew what he did while I was at school, but it seemed strange. I tiptoed over to his bed, and he shook awake. Hey, Mags, how was your trip? Did you have fun? His eyes were half awake and half somewhere else, and they weren't smiling like they usually did. His face wasn't smiling either. In fact, he kind of looked like he was in pain. Something was wrong, really wrong. I looked around the room for his wheelchair and found it locked in place next to the door. There were no new scratches or dings, so I didn't think he'd topple over again. And there were no dropped forks around his bed, so I knew it wasn't getting him down. Still, whatever happened while we were away was a big deal. Ooh, there's that term again the author keeps using, big deal. I wanted to yell at him. I wanted to scream. I wanted to know what was going on. But when I brushed the hair out of his eyes, I saw the tired that had taken over his whole face. And I couldn't yell. I couldn't scream. All I could do was swallow the lump in my throat. I resisted my first instinct, which was to call for mom. I don't know why I didn't. Maybe I didn't want her to see dad like this. Maybe if only I saw him like this, then I could figure out a way to make him better before anyone else knew. I stopped thinking and followed my second instinct. I leaned over and hugged him. I squeezed him. And when we both let go, I noticed something on his wrist. He was wearing a hospital bracelet. Ooh, what a cliffhanger for the chapter.